Hey there everyone, while I was filming this, I realized that, a little bit too late, that this video would have been way too long if I covered all 4 Covenant Soulbinds in one video, because I do have quite a bit of thoughts on them, where they can go, this and that. So with this video, I know the intro's coming up next. We're going to break it apart into two different videos. First one being Kirian and Necrolord, and then the second one being Night Fae and Venthyr. So this is part 1. Enjoy. Thank you very much. Hey there everyone, Mazarok here, and today I'm going to be going over the 9.1 Soulbind extensions. I'm not going to be going over all of the main Soulbinds. We should all know what they can do by now for the most part, or at least the ones relevant to your Covenant, but the extensions. Coming out in 9.1 are Soulbind extensions. So with Renown, we're going to be able to unlock longer Soulbinds for each and every Covenant, which is really, really nice. There's a lot of fun effects here. The reason I didn't cover this earlier, because this has been released for a while, at least like a month, is some of these I looked at them and said, that is not going to live at all. It's just not going to happen. And with the last PTR build we had, they did change some of the more egregious ones where I was, like, everybody was like, yeah, there's no way this makes it to live. So I think now they're kind of probably mostly happy with the balance and exactly what the effects are. Some things might end up with a little bit of tuning, or they might just say, you know, let's just redo the whole thing. Who knows? It's PTR. But right now, I'm pretty confident in thinking that this will be the live versions. So let's start with Kirian and Pelegos. So I do have it set to Warrior, but I'll try and be covering this through mostly most of the tanks. I'm not going to go over each and every single one, but just a general feeling. If one is more outstanding for one tank more than another, I'll mark that. So as we go along here, we do have the last one was Let's Go to the Past, which is the reduced magic damage, going into another potency slot. Now, Pelegos is going to have 3 potency slots, which is really, really good. If you are a tank that has lots of potency slots available. Unfortunately, for something like Prot War, there's really only like 2 good ones, and like one's like, okay, I guess I'll put it in. So, having the extra potency slot is going to be really, really nice if you are one of the tanks that does have lots of potency slots to choose from. Then you get to choose your left or right path. Better together. During combat, moving within 3 yards of an ally or raid member inspires you both, increasing your mastery for 1 minute. Players may only be affected by one such effect. This is just an all-around nice effect for Mythic Plus, rating, anything like that. Just anything that can give you a little bit more of a stat, especially a good stat that's useful to you. Bears, mastery is incredibly useful. I know with Death Knight and Warriors, mastery is very, very good. Maybe not the best stat, but still very, very good to have, and you'll absolutely want it. So this is just an all-around good passive ability. And on the right-hand path, we have Path of the Devoted. So after recovering from a loss of control effect, you take 15% reduced damage, and your movement speed cannot be reduced by 90% for 6 seconds. This is nice, although to be able to get it, you have to be playing badly. You have to have made a mistake, which this will make those mistakes less punishing. But the problem is to get this effect, you have to, something bad has have to have happened to you. And then lastly, we finish with Newfound Resolve. At any moment during combat, there is a low chance your doubt will manifest for 10 seconds. Directly facing your doubt will overcome it, granting you 12% of primary stat and stamina for 15 seconds. Now, this is nice, but the problem is how often is low? Is this like once every 90 seconds to 2 minutes? Is this something that's going to happen a little bit more frequently than what we thought? And how difficult is this going to be to place? Especially because if you're a DPS, this might be a little bit easier, but if you're a tank, you're going to have to move the entire pack or move around the entire pack to face this doubt. Is that going to be easy? Is this going to be something where it's a general direction, or is it going to be fixed? This is going to be a lot more difficult to work with from a tank perspective than it's going to be from a DPS perspective. Although 12% primary stat and stamina for 15 seconds is really, really nice. This is a strong Soulbind ability if you do not have to jump through hoops to get it. So let's take a look at that later on once this goes live and the exact low chance is set in stone. And then we can go from there. But so far, I like it. It's just a matter of how well does this integrate with the gameplay. Now let's go over to Clea and her Valiant strikes. So Coming off the last set of 3 that you get to choose from, you get another potency slot. This is going to be very, very common across a lot of the Soulbinds. Option number 1, movement speed increased by 6% while out of combat and gain 3% critical strike chance for 10% after damaging an enemy above 90%. This is just a really good DPS option. If you're from a tank perspective, though, if you're one of those that gets a nice boon from your critical strike, for example, warriors, they gain parry as well as DKs. So this is going to aid defensively as well as offensively, but it's one of those where it's kind of good, but it's not amazing. But it's not a bad option to take, and then that leads to an endurance slot. And then lastly, the second option is Spring. Hope Springs Eternal. Apologies. Your File of Serenity reduces damage taken by 10% for 8 seconds, and its effects are also granted to your lowest health ally. This is a really nice healing ability that allows you to kind of play a little bit of Paladin WoG, Word of Glorying around just with your file, but also its effects. So let's take the bleeds into account. Let's, things like that. If someone has off tanking or gained a couple stacks of necrotic, this can help. Now you might not be able to choose who gets the secondary effects, but this is also something that can help save someone's life. You notice someone's getting trucked, something like that. You're half health. Your healer's a little bit low, needs a little bit of a boost. This is going to just be really, really nice to have, especially in Mythic Plus, in raid settings. It will still be nice. I just don't think it'll be as impactful as that small small five person group. And then lastly, Light of the Path. Your Valiant strikes grant a 0.25% critical strike chance per stack. When your Valiant strike heals an ally, you each gain 5% critical strike for 12 seconds. So Clea is going to be a really good soulbind for anybody that's working well with critical strikes. This is an all-around good, I'd say this is an all-around good soulbind for tanking, although it's definitely not the best one. Critical strikes isn't the best for most tanks, but it is good. You're gaining a lot from this, but you could be gaining more with some of the other ones. All in all, I like it. It's a nice middle of the road. It helps with healing. And if you do want to play that support role, you're playing with a group that some people are making mistakes a lot, tend to die a lot, and you kind of want ways to help. Clea and her Valiant strikes and her File of Serenity, lowest HP ally heal, could be a good addition. Alright, now we're going to go with Forge Light Prime Mechanicos. Now, this one here was not a great option for tanking, or tanks in general, and that was mostly because of Braun's call to action. After using 90 damaging abilities or healing spells and abilities, blah 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 blah, your next spell or ability summons Braun, who knocks enemies back on arrival and then attacks and heals your targets for 30 seconds. This is nice, but when he comes in, can really screw around with tanks, can screw around with DPS, because if he jumps in right when your mage is combusting, he's going to blow everyone back, screwing up how you pulled everything in. This also goes for Wild Spirits and any of those ground effects, which deal a lot of damage, because Braun doesn't deal that much damage. He does deal an okay amount, there's nothing to say that, and the healing's nice, although depending on when he comes in, and really, it's not random, but you don't have control over when that comes in, because you're a tank. You have to build threat, you have to constantly be pressing stuff, so he's going to come when he's going to come, and you cannot do anything to stop that. So that has been a very negative effect of this Soulbind tree. Now, there are going to be a lot of positives coming around with the extensions, which could actually make this one of the best in slots for Kyrian, and I'm really, really excited for it. So, right off the bat, we're gonna go with the last one here, the Hammer of Genesis. If you're a warrior, this 3% haste is going to turn to be 15% haste on Mythic Plus pulls, which is really, really nice. Now, this alone is not worth enough to take it over Pelegos. It's just not. But as we go down the tree, this, combined with everything else, might make a compelling case. So, of course, surprise, potency slot. Option number 1, the Soul Glow Spectrometer. Damaging or healing a target analyzes its merit over 15 seconds, increasing your damage or healing done to it by 1%, increasing by 1% every 3 seconds. So you cannot start a new analysis until the previous one has finished. So whatever you damage first is going to keep building up as an increase in percentage. Now, this one here does not state that there is a cap, although there's going to be one. You're just gonna have to wait, especially because this would get pretty nutty on boss fights. Reactive retrofitting. After taking, but no, this is really, really solid. If you're a low DPS tanking class, this can be really, really nice to increase your, especially single target, to increase your damage in single target in Mythic Plus and raids. This would probably be a really good raid go-to. Reactive retrofitting. After taking physical or magic damage, you gain a shield that absorbs damage equal to 8% of your maximum health for 10 seconds. Each incoming damage type may trigger this effect once per 30 seconds. So this is an 8% absorb times 2 every 30 seconds. That is really, really good for tanks. Which means you're probably going to have these absorbs every pull. Because especially once you get up into the higher ones, it's going to take 20-30 seconds to get your pull together. Take them down. Sometimes it takes longer than that, depending on what the pull is. And then you move on to the next. So if you're one of those small pack chain pullers, this will be up for most. If you're a big pack puller, then this would still be up. Probably not get as much use because 8% is only 8%, but 8% is still 8%. Total is 16% actually. Endurance and finesse slots. And then lastly, this one, I really love this one. The Effusive Anima Accelerator. So now I'm on Warrior. So Spear of Bastion release a blast of overcharge Anima at your target location, dealing extra damage. Your damaging coveted ability deals extra damage. Already, what's not to like? It's arcane damage split evenly between all targets over 8 seconds, so it adds an extra dot. Straight up, you're using your covenant ability, it's good. It's adding more damage, why not? What I really like is reduce the cooldown of Spear of Bastion by... Now, this one here was 4 seconds. I do not know if they're changing this, because it would bring it down to 40 seconds. And if we go over to the Demon Hunter... No, that's Rogue. Demon Hunter, there we go. We go over to Demon Hunter with the Elysian Decree and the ways in which they have to reduce the cooldowns of their sigils anyway. There has been reports of below 30 seconds Elysian Decree. So that's really nice. This would be 40-second Divine Toll on Paladins if it keeps it the 4 seconds. So here we have the 4 seconds on Paladin. That's what it's reduced by. They might be changing the number for Warrior specifically, but right now it's 4 seconds. So it would be a 40-second Spear of Bastion in Mythic Plus as long as you're hitting 5 targets, which most pulls have 5 targets. Spear of Bastion is a massively great damaging ability. It's a very good DPS ability. It roots things in place. You're adding extra damage and you're getting more of them. Why not? And then of course you have the Druid version, which the Druid version of this one's kind of long, but it does reduce your Kindred Spirits. So your Kindred Spirits, I do believe if it's a healer, you get a DR, so it's an extra DR every so often. This is just really, really nice. And if you combine all of these together, it might be worth suffering through Brawn to be able to get this. Because I know a 40-second Spear of Bastion sounds super fun. And why would I not want it? Along with the Absorb Shields and the 15% haste basically on every pack. Now it only lasts up to 10 seconds, but you can work around this. So this is kind of like the Wild Hunt Critical Strike stuff that you get from Night Fae, although it is on a much lower scale, and it's, you know, only for up to 10 seconds. It is to be noted whether the stacks refresh every time you hit something, because if so, by chain pulling, you could have a constant 15% haste buff, which would be beautiful. But if not, it's still super solid to have. These combined, Kirian is looking to be a solid covenant with Mechanicos and Pelegos. Clea, and like I said, Clea is good, just Pelegos with the mastery buff from the top here, the primary stat buff, the stamina buff from the bottom, Mechanicos with everything he's offering, just seem to be the two better picks for tanks. So it's not like Clea's bad, just the other two are kind of better. And I think you're going to be able to have a lot of fun and not be stuck and just play Pelegos and that's it. Blah. Now you can actually be like, well, Mechanicos, you know, kind of want to do that. 40-second Divine Toll on a Paladin? Like, that's, like, I'm in. That's all I need to hear to play Mechanicos on a Paladin. So that is Kyrian. Now let's swap on over to the Necrolords. So the Necrolords, Plague Divisor Merilith, number 1. He is your less picked option right now out of everything, although the passive effects aren't bad for 2 minutes. Like, it's actually pretty decent. There are some pretty good ones, although Emily and Bonesmith are probably going to be your better options. So again, surprise, potency slot. First one, when you're struck by a snare, this is awfully specific. You drop a puddle that lasts for 10 seconds. Enemies that step in the puddle are slowed by 70% for 5 seconds. This is nice, but when are you constantly hit by a snare where this is going to be useful? Especially Mythic Plus or rating. Now, this in PvP, whole different story. I'm talking PvE. Now, this one here I do like. While above 80%, 5% of damage taken is absorbed and spread out over 5 seconds. This is just a mini stagger. That's really nice for both magic and physical damage. While above 80%, of course. So it is a very, very, very miniature stagger. Although, it's nice. It's an extra little thing that you just didn't have before. Now this one here is the last one, Kevin's Oozling. Awfully specific with Kevin. Conqueror's Banner summons Kevin's Oozling to fight alongside you for 40 seconds. His attacks cause enemies to take 2% additional damage from you, and he periodically grants your allies an absorb shield that, based off versatility, attack bar, blah, blah, blah. This is nice. 40 seconds. Every 2 minutes, which is really... It's a nice ability. It goes well with your Conqueror's Banner and your support. And the Absorb Shield, honestly, this is nice. It's fun. I think it's going to be a little bit too wacky. I think in PvP, this would be a whole different scenario. I think this would be a lot of fun to have fun with. Although in Mythic Plus and rating, you want certainty. Who is it putting Absorb Shields on? Who is that 2% additional damage going to? Because his attacks have to cause that. So if it's a pack, who's he hitting? There's a lot of variables that, personally for me, I wouldn't like in Mythic Plus. In ratings, this would be nice because you would get the 2% additional damage for 40 seconds to the raid boss. So that's not bad. Mythic Plus, I think, is a little bit too much of a variable for me. So again, Plaguebinder, I think we're going to be staying... Plague Divisor, sorry. Merilith is one that we're going to be staying away from as tanks mostly. If you want to play it, have fun with it. I just think Emily and Bonesmith are way better options for tanking. Now for the Daughter of Slaughter, our dearest Emily. Now what makes Emily an already strong soulbind for tanks and most DPS classes and even healers? Is there even a healer best in slot Necrolord? I don't know. So your Necrolord ability will increase primary stat for you and your ally. This is just all around good, strong for your use and the use of those in your party. Really, really nice to have. Here, like, and this is where Necrolord gets shafted. Gain 3% haste for 10 seconds after defeating an enemy, up to 15%. Like, Kirian gets them just for touching an enemy. But that's my little gripe. Like, I think Necrolords got shafted pretty hard on Soulbinds, and that's been a very big reason why Necrolord just hasn't been as good as some of the other covenants. But that's just me and my personal opinion. Potency slot, surprise. Soul Sloth. Soul Slow? After standing still for 5 seconds, I think it's sloth. I need to find out how to pronounce that word. After standing still for 5 seconds, the next time you move, you and nearby allies gain 20% increased movement speed for 10 seconds. This is nice. Not game changing. You're not standing still for an extra 3 seconds just to gain 20% movement speed. Not going to happen. Now this one here, this one's nice. The Resilient Stitching. While above 90% health, you gain a shield that absorbs a total amount, versatility, plus blah, 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 blah. Magic damage. For 1 minute, this effect can only occur once every 1 minute. I like this, especially for classes or specs that aren't great at dealing with magic damage. So warriors, magic damage is a little bit of their weakness. Druids as well, not super great. Paladin, why aren't you playing Kyrian? Ha ha ha. But if you are playing Necrolord, you know, there are things. This is just nice. 1 minute, you gain a nice absorb shield just for being at full health every 1 minute. Now, if you're you gotta look at this through like the eyes of a Mythic Plus, right? So if you're in an M plus, chances are your run is going to be anywhere from 28 minutes timer. If you're cutting it close, you know, it could be anywhere from. However, let's go with 25 to 45 minutes, depending on what dungeon you're doing, how slow you're doing it, how quick you're doing it. Could be quicker than that. But even this, having this, a minimum of 25 times in a dungeon equals up to a lot of healing, a lot of absorbs, and that damage mitigation right now is really, really nice. And it doesn't really matter what class you're playing. This would probably be your absolute pick over the movement speed. Just me. but that's where I see it going. Lastly, the Postural Eruption. Fleshcraft covers you in 3 postules per 1 second channeled. So that comes up to, if you're able to cast the full channel, that's 9. Basic math. Taking damage or being healed pops a postule, dealing damage, nature damage, because it would be like acid, right? Yeah. So nature damage to nearby enemies and healing nearby allies for whatever have you not split between them. This is more of an incentive to use Fleshcraft, because I'm seeing a lot of Necrolords. I can't say I'm seeing a lot of Necrolords. Haha, oxymoron. But I am seeing Necrolords not use Fleshcraft in dungeons. Like, rarely ever. They'll use it to start, and then they won't use it again. It's a 40% HP absorb. If you have 3 seconds, like, use it. I don't care if you're going to slow down the party. Use it. You're like, my healer loves it when I'm going in with Fleshcraft on, because they know they have 40% of my HP that they don't have to worry about me. That's nice. And this just increasing DPS and increasing healing and being a little bit more of a support role is only going to make Emily an even better option, and is going to make you think about when you want to Fleshcraft. So it might be that, you know, you might have Fleshcraft up and ready to go, but you want to save it for the next pack that's a little bit troublesome. It's actually going to put some thought into it instead of just doing it on cooldown, which might just be better. So a little bit of thought, a little bit of go, but all around, I think the additions and the extensions to Emily are fantastic. Some of them are a little bit weak, but they make up for them with the with the strength on the other ones. So I think Emily is still going to be an absolute go-to for most Necrolord tanks. But Bonesmith is got something to bring to the table. All right, and then we go over to Bonesmith, one of the more competitive options within the Necrolord Covenant itself, because you do have the Forgeborn Reverie, so whenever you die, you get to stick around just a little bit longer. That way you can get people to kind of prep that Brez and things like that going on, which is really, really nice, but you need to be aware of it. Like, having a weak aura that just takes a giant portion of your screen, because I find that I don't really like the animation, or the animation blends in a little bit too much in Mythic Plus whenever this went off. So it just kind of went off a little bit. Yeah, I like it. It's nice. It's fun. Yeah. Restorated Spoilers, really nice. Whenever anybody attacks you, you immediately gain a DPS boost from attacking them back. But let's go off to the extensions. Surprise. Potency slot. Endurance, Finesse. That is pretty much every single one. So we're going to stop talking about these. Now, Carver's Eye. Damaging an enemy above 90% health grants you X amount of mastery for 5 seconds, up to 5 stacks. You cannot gain this benefit from the same target from the same target for 10 seconds. So really, in a raid scenario, you're going to be having that mastery buff. I mean, it's going to be a small mastery buff, but on a one-target fight, it's going to be up 50% of the time, which is nice. Not bad. More mastery, more chance to block if you're a warrior. You know, I think it's for more blood shield with DK. Now, this is 50% of the time, and it's a short 50%. It's not like 30 seconds and 30, right? It's 5 and 5. So, in Mythic Plus, though, this is going to be a constant source of mastery, in which you do not, and see, the one I like about this one over the Night Fae and the Kirian one, excuse me, is this is just, you touch something and you get the buff. All around nice. I think this is going to be a really nice go-to. Although, when 3 or more enemies are nearby, your maximum health is increased by 5%. This effect lingers for 5 seconds. So in Mythic Plus packs, having just a general 5% max HP boost is nice. Although, I think Carver's Eye is going to be the winner here. Because getting that mastery buff in M+, just constantly stacking it, really, really nice. Then lastly, Mnemonic. I do not know how to pronounce that word, and I apologize. Mnemonic Equipment. When you damage an enemy that's below 35% health, 3% of the damage done is repeated over 5 seconds. Healing an ally grants them the ability to have their damage repeat this way at 30% effectiveness for 5 seconds. Now, this is intriguing. I like this, because what constitutes a heal? For example, Rallying Cry, although it does boost the max HP, actually does not constitute a heal. So that won't work. But if you're a bear and you can maybe put on a quick rejuvenation on a global cooldown, I know it takes you to bear, but if you have the chance to kind of kite around a little bit and put a rejuve on something, they'll gain a 30% extra damage boost from an execute on all damage they're doing for 5 seconds. That's not bad. And on top of that, it doesn't say that there's a limit. So if you can put a couple of if you have a chance to put a couple of rejuvenants, maybe 3 on all of your Mythic Plus DPSers, gaining a 30% damage execute, not bad. If you're kiting, there's options that you can work with here and kind of go along with. If you're a monk, you might be able to get a quick Vivify off on someone. I know it takes you out and you gotta cast and synergy, but, maybe that extra damage boost on, like, a Tyran week, that's not bad. This is a very, very nice support. And as well, you just gain straight up more execute. Now, it's 3% of your damage done, which is negligible, but it's 3% more than you were doing before. So it's one of those things where it's just kind of nice to have. But the support options behind the healing and ally grants them that as a tank. If you're a class that can get a quick off heal off, it, especially in the right times when someone hits that execute stage below 35% health, and you do have the time to kite, like you're already running away, maybe just, like I said, quick rejuvenation, boom, boom, get those off, get back into bear form and kiting again, and they get a nice extra execute for 5 seconds. It's really going to add a new dynamic to the gameplay, which I think is really, really interesting. I think they did a very good job on this one. So I think Bonesmith all around is going to be pretty competitive for the Necrolords. Like I said, I like Plague Divisor. I do. I don't dislike it. But the problem is Emily and Bonesmith are just much stronger options for Necrolords. And thank you very much. That is the Kirian and the Necrolord Covenants in my part 1. Part 2 will be coming out probably in a couple days, or at the very maximum, a week. Where we cover the Venthyr and the Night Fae Soulbinds for 9.1. If you enjoy this type of content, if you have any opinions on the Soulbinds at all, leave all that down in the comment section below. Like this video for me. Shows that, people are liking this sort of content and you want to see more of it. Plain and simple. I stream on Twitch every Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Come on by and check that out if you're into that sort of thing. Aside from that, I hope you guys are enjoying Shadowlands as much as I have, even though this patch has gone on way too long. But 9.1 is coming. We're going to get it. Just a matter of when. It's coming. Let's stay excited. Let's be good to each other. Have yourselves a good day.